Well, that's it. The hobby is over. I'm done. It's all exploding. It's done. I'm going to start making pretty kitty videos. That's it. I'm out. See you later, guys.
Wait, where's the pretty kitty videos?
I'm working on it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our little symposium, I guess you would call this. We're just having a chit chat on the future of drones in the United States. And here we have Ryan LaTourette. He's the Director of Regulatory Affairs for the Great Lakes Drone Company and
the founding member of Michigan Coalition of Drone Operators, MCDO.
And former bass player for New Kids on the Block. Welcome. Okay. Welcome. And over here, we've got Wayne Baker. He is the Director of Stakeholder Engagement for DJI. And what exactly does that mean? Is that a fancy pants name for marketing, or what is that?
You know, it is a fancy pants name for what I do, but you know, it's great because the essence is I get out and meet people that use our drones, that have built businesses on our drones. Meet you recently in Vegas, and I get to just meet people and hang out, which that's really about all I'm good for at the end of the day.
It's good to be, all of us need to be good ambassadors for the hobby. And my default is optimism, always. But that's why we have Ryan here for the doom and gloom. Tell us why we should all sell our drones and give it up. What's going on?
Oh, wow. I don't know that we sell our drones and give it up yet, but we've got a fight coming.
Okay.
And we've had one here in the last year. So I think probably what I have to say is elections have consequences. We just had a big election. That's, going to determine who's in Congress, who's in Senate, and how policy gets created over the next 2 years. And that being said, we had a drone ban that was going through Congress in the last session. So what does that look like in the next session? And that's what I'm kind of interested in right now.
Yeah, me too. And you have your crystal ball there, of course.
Crystal ball. I'm glued to it, trying to figure it out.
Where did we leave off? I mean, it was kind of a nothing burger for a while, but now with this regime change, things are going to start happening in a different way, you say.
Yeah, so in the past, we had Elise Stefanik, who was a representative from New York, who put forward a bill to ban DJI drones via the SEC and pull their signal. And then that kind of went through. It went through in the House, but we got locked in the Senate. We were trying to battle and make sure it did not go through. Rick Scott, senator from senator from Florida, put forward a bill as well. And that failed in the Senate. So we didn't have the Senate. We did have the House. When the two can't match, it doesn't get signed into law. So we were able to avoid a DJI ban in this last session of Congress. Now we have a regime change. The head administration has changed. We know now that the Senate has gone to the GOP, which Rick Scott is a part of. He's now a part of the majority rather than a minority. Elise Stefanik, she has been tapped as one of the cabinet members for the new administration. So she's going to be heading to the UN. I truly suspect, because she is part of the GOP and the GOP has won the House, that she will have somebody step right up in her place and make that same type of bill in the House. And now we have the concern once again. We'll probably see a House version and a Senate version. And this time, both majorities, we could see it pass.
Usually, in my experience, when I'm working somewhere and I get a new manager in, which is what's happening with our government, the new manager wants to make a name for themselves and shake things up. And I guess maybe that's what kind of things are you seeing, Wayne? What kind of rumblings are you seeing? Are you putting out any fires? What's going on your end?
I think like a lot of us, we're just right now sitting back and watching the selectees for the appointments come in. As ever being hopeful, as you mentioned earlier. I know we heard today that Matt Gaetz, who, as a representative in Florida, has for a long time been a critic of China and DJI specifically, and now has withdrawn from the Attorney General um, process.
Is that a good thing for DJI?
Well, it's definitely a positive. I don't want to say it's a negative. Now he's not going to be in a position of influence in the cabinet as we would have anticipated before. I will first say this. I'm Texan. In fact, I was just in Europe the other day talking with a new friend from Dublin, from Ireland, and we were talking about our politics. And I said, "Well, you have to understand. First, I'm Texan, then I'm American." So, I think that probably shows where I naturally lean on my politics. But then I also have a voice of reason, and that's what to get back to what you're asking. I think that's what we want to see really more than anything is just a voice of reason that we can sit down and discuss the issues, plead our case, which we, never really get the chance to do. And, having people that, take Representative Stefanik, I think that's been given information that's not factual, and not have that ability in the past to be able to say this is what the facts really are, at least our side, our point of view. I think that's, of course, not just detrimental to DJI, that's detrimental to the industry. And so that's what I'm hopeful for going forward is now, as we have these new positions come up, people will take that time to seek out what the real truth is.
Is DJI, in your opinion, and maybe you don't know even, is DJI actively trying to make change happen in their favor while at the same time letting their customers in the United States feel better about buying their products? Because they're so good, but there's always a little guilt like, oh, I'm helping the commies. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not really, is it really what's going on? What's your opinion on that? Because there's this feeling, whenever I'm holding a DJI product, I'm like, damn, this is good. This is fun. It always works. It's dependable. But you know what I mean?
Well, let me start with, I'm talking to you from a microphone, laptop, camera, all that comes from China. And the most used thing, an Apple iPhone, that's made in China. I mean, again, going back to my roots, my politics, I understand the concerns, but at the end of the day, let me start with DJI, the company. We're owned by one person still. We're still not some behemoth under the umbrella of the Chinese Communist Party. We're owned by one man whose real vision was started in a dorm room when he wanted to make his hobby of flying remote-controlled helicopters easier to do, and created controllers. And now we don't just make drones. We have our gimbal systems to our bicycles, to our battery charging stations. We're a technology company. And so the first part I would address is that, that we're not the Chinese government. We're DJI. We're here to make products really to, in a lot of ways, make the world a better place. From our agricultural drones, recently I've been getting to know a lot more of and helping the farmers too. My background as a former fire chief, helping police officers and firefighters save lives with our drones. Giving people a better perspective of the world. And then just, as we just saw at the Old Farts with drones meet up in Vegas, people that I heard several stories of people that, they retired, they were just out of sorts because they kind of lost any, focus of what to do in their life. They got a drone and now they get out and see the world. So that's the first part to our technology. And the next part I'll go back to, which was your first part. What are we doing? And really we are trying to engage, yes, on a lot of different levels, whether that be engaging with state representatives as we have questions come up in state legislatures, engaging or trying to engage with U.S. congressional representatives, whether it be Senate or House, to as I mentioned earlier, tell our side of the story. And we get a lot of times when we're able to do that, and then sometimes where the door is closed, unfortunately, to us, which is unfortunate. I would think you would want to hear both sides of the story. So that's one thing we're doing. We're trying to engage on that level, absolutely. The next is, and I would also add, the overarching theme of this is we are trying to educate, not just, educate about DJI, but the industry and the technology and the capabilities and limitations, that drones aren't doing what people think they're out there doing sometimes.
It is a difficult position to be in. I empathize with you personally because it seems like you do, on DJI's behalf, have to be on the defense a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but I hope the positive again is that I do get to engage and educate, and when you have that moment where you're talking to, an elected official or a city official or even an agency, and you're able to show them the technology and walk through this actual security measures, and to have that aha moment of, that's not what I've been told, and I've been misled. I like to see, I may be on the defensive at first, but when they see that we're genuine, that I'm genuine, I like to see that. And I'll just add the last part is more centric to what I do, and that's getting out and speaking with our end users and educating. And why I really appreciate you allowing me to come on here and talk with you is to let them know, because so many businesses that are built around drones, not just ours, don't know the impact that this legislation, or even that there is legislation to impact their lives or their business or their hobby.
Absolutely. And Ryan, you can speak to that. It seems like a lot of our legislators are making policies and bills and laws when they are themselves woefully misinformed about the drone industry and what we do as a community.
Absolutely, and we saw that in some of the clauses that were put into the bills. One particular clause was saying we would like for the Department of Defense to take apart a DJI drone and determine whether or not there's a problem. But that was in the same clause that was saying we need to ban DJI drones. It was like, well, chicken or the egg? Which way are you going here, right? Wayne, I'll say it right with you. I sit down with elected officials all the time, and there is that misconception about what drones are capable of, and they have that, oh, well, I'm sending my data to China, and I will ask them, would you like to fly my drone? We're gonna take your phone, we're gonna put it in here, and we're gonna turn it on airplane mode. And they're like, well, wait a minute, I won't have any internet, I won't have any service. Yeah, turn off your service. I'm fine with that too. And they now get that dawning moment. I'm not sending data anywhere. You're right. You're not. And it's an amazing experience for those folks to come around. And yet, Wayne, I know that you're probably beating on doors that are automatically closed, that they aren't willing to listen. There's a predetermined notion of what's happening, and they aren't going to reconsider.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, again, I go back to, I understand the concerns with China. I totally understand. But there should be reason involved with that to know there's a difference between the Chinese government, just like there is here in the U.S. There's a difference between the U.S. government and businesses here in the U.S. and the control that they have. And I think one of the biggest ones I've been hearing a little bit more of lately is the funding that supposedly, allegedly, DJI gets from the Chinese government. And I'll tell you, I've been on several internal meetings where they're just astounded that that's even a topic, because that's just absolutely not true. And I can tell you that with just the last couple of discussions I've had about budget for next year for us internally and finance.
Well, that's reassuring. And of course, naturally people would be taking what you're saying with a grain of salt, the grain of salt being that you're an employee of DJI.
Yeah.
That said, I know you probably have some insight. We're going to get back to more legislation issues with Ryan, but I just have a quick question for you. And that is, as far as, this is the Christmas season is the biggest time for any business. The fourth quarter profits carry over for the rest of the year. And that's true even with a business as large as DJI. A lot of people are ordering products for Christmas. And what about the problems that we're having as these products are coming into the country and with the threat of tariffs? And are people hesitating to even buy? Are they going to wait? Are they just giving up? Are they going to?
I've been glad to see that people are still just as enthusiastic about our products. Again, it goes to the capabilities and the price point that we're able to offer for people to see the world in a better view or support their business. We still have a lot of interest in our products, especially like the Osmo Action 5 we just came out with. As usual, I haven't gotten my hands on the new product to see it myself, but
is it going to be held up in customs though?
What we're seeing is, individuals making orders are being able to get theirs through customs once there's some checks made. If we're doing, bulk purchasing for a business, there's more to answer for customs. And we've just gone through getting all the information that customs has been requesting to work through this, and we hope to have this resolved very soon. We feel like it's a misunderstanding between customs and our products, and
right.
So we hope it'll be resolved pretty quickly.
And I have to ask, because I have some friends who are small DJI dealers. As far as the dealers are concerned, I know that there's a lot of their stock being held up in customs. So I just have to ask on their behalf, is there a priority being put on to get that resolved?
Absolutely. We rely heavily on our dealer network, really because, over the years, it's been our dealer network that has supported DJI. And so, not only do we have that commitment to our customers to get this taken care of as quickly as we can and respond as fast as we can to the requests of customs. It's also our dealers and our dealer network that we really want to be able to support, as you said, at one of their busiest times of the year coming around. And not just because it's, when we talk consumer, it's Christmas time, but we just went through recently what I would always call, as a fire chief, Christmas time in the public safety. In my area, budget started October 1, so you have a new budget to spend, so you're looking for that equipment you've requested on the industrial side. So, we have a lot of orders right now that have just been put through in the last couple of weeks that we want to make sure we're able to respond to and fulfill.
Okay. How can we as a community do anything, or are we just going to have to lube up and take it as it comes? Sorry, put it that way.
In answering that question, I want to go towards the tariffs, right?
Hmm.
So we already have a 25% tariff that is on Chinese goods, and DJI, I think, is a part of that. I'm pretty certain of it. So if we look at that 25%, right, the DJI Mini 4 is running you $750. That's after the tariff. Before the tariff, it would cost you $600. So you are paying that extra $150 out of your pocket, right? And covering the cost of the tariff. DJI doesn't assume that cost. You as the consumer do. So as we're talking about going to a 50% tariff or a 75% tariff, start adding that up, right? You could be at $900 or above that, right? $1,000, $1,050 coming very soon if the tariffs continue. Now, the whole idea of tariffs is to try to push up the price point of that product such that you consider another product of equal value and see a price point that matches.
Yes, it's to encourage American companies to compete.
Right.
Yeah.
So now find yourself an American company that makes an equivalent drone and look at the price. And we're talking into the $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 range versus the $1,000 range. So you as a consumer are going to go ahead and purchase that $1,000 drone,
right,
even though it's really should only cost you about $600.
But even so, and here's something that is a disconnect for a lot of people, even in a completely American-made product contains Chinese-made stuff.
Yes.
I mean,
plain and simple.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no Zenith cell phone.
Exactly.
Right?
So in answering that, right,
yeah.
What do we do? Well, you could choose, I'm going to take it on the chin. I'm going to buy the American product at a higher dollar value. So I'm going to spend $4,000 instead of $1,000, and I'm going to support my American company in doing that. Yeah, there may be somebody who's willing to do that. I don't think the majority of consumers are ready to go that much of a difference.
Right.
So for the majority of drone operators, it's going to be, you need to contact your state local representatives. You need to reach out to your senators and to your U.S. congresspersons, and you need to be educating them in the same fashion what Wayne's going around the country doing, right? Saying this does not happen. Prove that it happens before you start doing a ban. Prove that it happens before you start saying this is a bad product. And show them how these things are working for yourself, whether it's, recreation, being able to enjoy life a little bit more, enjoy some vacation pictures, or business. I have a legitimate use for this. You're in law enforcement. This is a great chance to say, look, I can do a search and rescue on a dime's budget versus calling in a helicopter.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's the one of all of this stuff. That's the one thing that really pisses me off, to be honest, is that the best products for the job right now, it's DJI for all the search and rescue stuff. It's costing people's actual lives because there's legislators taking these drones and equipment out of the hands of first responders. But as far as consumers, and I don't even say something, Wayne, and I'll get back to you, Ryan, about this a little bit later, but as far as consumers are concerned, just yes or no, Ryan, is there going to be a ban going forward now with the new people in the Washington?
I'm hopeful there isn't, but I'm concerned.
Okay. Wayne?
To touch on that real quick, yeah, we anticipate there will be discussions and a push to have something like what we've seen in the past. But if I could real quick touch on the public safety aspect, specifically law enforcement, one of the greatest things I've seen in the last few years with drones, and I know the biggest topic in public safety is drone as first responder, where 911 call comes in, drone flies to the scene, videos imaging back. And believe me, that's the holy grail I was wanting to see as a fire chief years ago. But the greatest thing to me that I have seen is the de-escalation drones have brought. And to give some specific examples of that, we just, again, in the news recently was Breonna Taylor tragedy. And you know, I'm not pointing to anybody is wrong or right or any of that, but the fact of the matter is there was a SWAT team made a dynamic entry, and a SWAT officer was injured in a shooting, and of course Breonna Taylor was killed. How do we stop that from happening in the future was the big call. There was protests about it, and police departments around the country listened and changed tactics, and drones were the catalyst for them to do that. The technology just happened to come on the scene, as little as that Neo you were just showing. And I have seen some agencies' videos that are just incredible. One I'll just real quick talk about. Happened at the beginning of the year. African-American male, murder suspect, running from the police, ends up in the back seat of an Uber van. And as the police officers approach, driver takes off and gets away to safety. And now there is a black male sitting in the back seat of this van. And rather than the normal approach, law enforcement waited to fly the drone up and look in, and when they first get up to the side window, it looks like he has a gun in his lap, and he's not complying because he's not coming out of the vehicle, hands up. But again, they fly the drone around in through the open driver's door, and as they come into the vehicle, they immediately see he has a cell phone in his lap, and he's on the phone on another phone, and he's actually talking to his mother saying, I can't get out because the child lock's on the door. He couldn't get out. He was trying to comply. And even those officers were so glad, because that could have ended in an officer-involved shooting and him unfortunately losing his life. But that drone, a DJI drone, in my opinion, saved his life. And, you know, we didn't have another incident like that of an unarmed African-American male killed with, you know, at the hands of police. So, you know, that, again, when you go back to what makes you mad, that's what's making me personally mad. I do what I do for DJI, a Chinese company, because it is helping me continue that life mission I had in my career of saving lives. And I'd love to work for an American company. I absolutely would. And I know I talk to police and fire departments and individuals with their own company that would love to have an American product that they would spend more money on if it was an American company, if it could just do what we're able to do. And that's what they're asking American companies, drone companies, to do, is step up and compete on the product. And I'll just say one more thing. You know, I love our country. I love our freedom of our country. And I hate to hear anybody say that they're going to legislate my safety. And they're going to do it by enacting a communist ban to save my democracy. I can't fathom that. So just some of my personal feelings.
Sure.
There.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that we have a fight on our hands to be able to communicate that to our legislators and do so in a fashion that is reassuring that China isn't out to, you know, bomb our country with intel that they've received from drones. They could get the same intel from any type of Google satellite if they wanted to. They certainly have higher tech.
Yeah, they don't need the drones. They don't need the drones. They've already sent balloons. So,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, why would you even fathom that an individual consumer drone is going to have the technology to get deep level secrets that doesn't exist in their military? It's just preposterous.
Well, again, it goes to what people don't understand. I don't understand all of the, you know, is my drone talking to the motherland, you know, like communicating back? I don't know these things. I've talked to experts about packets it sends and you know, all the telemetry that, and with the updates now, we can't use the telemetry now, I guess. And that's a preventative measure, I'm sure, on DJI's part. If you look at this, it sounds sometimes when we're like it's such a difficult position to be in. This is why I empathize with you, Wayne, because if you talk about common sense, like why would they need information from our drones? And are they really doing it? Saying that kind of sounds like you're defending China, but it's really not. If you think about it logically, if you use a little bit of critical thinking, you would realize that, like Ryan was saying, this thing is, they can get all the info they want off of that,
And actually, this is one of those where I can say not only with confidence, but this isn't just me, DJI, saying, we're not stealing data and sending it anywhere, because that's just exactly what someone stealing data would say, right? We've had numerous independent audits of our equipment that have come back and said there is no data security issue with our drones or any of our products. I say any of our products, specifically our drones, most recently FTI Consulting. Not only with our drones, but the apps said that, in fact, we adhere to some of the strictest data security standards out there, which there is no standard being proposed for us to follow, which we would love to be able to say, look at this one we follow, but no one proposes one.
It does seem like DJI, the software anyway, is being overcautious.
Absolutely.
And are we going to be able to get our flight logs back at some point?
You still can access them. It's just the automatic uploading that we used to, and I personally used to like to be able to do. They are still accessible, still able to be, as I understand, given to play. Companies like AirData or DroneSense or others.
I've had a lot of people ask about that. Now, Ryan, something else that I heard a little bit. Maybe you can speak more to this, but I think anything from not just DJI, but any Chinese, they're talking about anything that has a signal on it, like a Wi-Fi or any kind of signal that has an FCC license from China is going to be talked about being banned.
That is the talk, right? They're looking at any type of signal for an FCC. When you have a product, it has to have FCC approval for signal use in the United States. And actually, that's throughout the world, right? So if you were to go to UK, they have their own FCC type of entity that gives signal approval. And so it's the same thing. That's where they're focused. Hey, can we look at banning this particular signal for these countries, right? Or for entities of these countries. And that's what they're using here in DJI's case, is they're saying DJI will be placed on an entity list that is disallowed from getting a signal by the FCC approved. It's insane to think now that DJI has actually had to file a lawsuit, right, to try to prevent some of this, where they are suing the Department of Defense and basically saying, look, you've made some real crazy accusations based on a lot of false information. We want you to prove that. And Wayne, I think this one it's several months old, but we haven't yet seen a response brief. We haven't seen a schedule yet at this point, but I'm assuming this is going forward, and you're 100% on board with it.
Absolutely. It's one of the things is this has been going on a while, and a lot of internally, and even those of us internally, like myself, and a lot of people externally, why isn't DJI challenging this? Well, the greatest reason was we didn't know why we were on that list. We were never given any due process of defending ourselves. We were arbitrarily put on this list, not told why, and not really given any other recourse, despite our efforts to not have to go to court on it, to be able to say, hey, we don't feel like we should be on this list. and being called a Chinese military company for being on this list, when that is absolutely not the case. And so we finally hope that we will get into court that a lot of the accusations are now going to be prove it. And obviously we feel like they're going to not be proven because there is no evidence on any of them. But just real quick, some of the reasoning we found out was two people with the same name. One's an engineer, and for us, and I forget who the other individual was, but it was essentially like the U.S. government going, well, John Smith works at DJI, and he went to this conference and he does this work. Then DJI is guilty, and they were not the same person. They just happen to have the same name. Others have said it in a little different light. I'm not going to quite go there, but the other was based on an article in a magazine or a news article in a news magazine. If that's what we're using as evidence, that has not been fact checked or that we're just pulling random stories. Again, that's not the U.S. I grew up a Navy brat with my father defending for us to experience, and I think that's what's really troubling again for me. So I'm really optimistic. We are committed to the suit. I'm really optimistic that now the truth will be shown in court.
The world we live in is not black and white. There are gray areas, and this is true when in the drone community as a whole. When any of us are approached by any kind of authority, some understand, some have taken the time to get to know what drones are all about, but others are simply no.
Yeah.
With DJI being a Chinese company, there's a lot of people that are just Chinese bad. When in fact there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of gray area that if you took the time, again, I don't want to sound like I'm like defending DJI because I love China again, but I'm just saying use a little bit of critical thinking and know that there is definitely nuance to the whole situation. It's never just black and white.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I look at this and go back to the history, when we first had drones come out, people were interested, right? Wow. Whenever I put up a drone, I would have an instant crowd of 20 people. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
They were wide-eyed and curious. Hey, how high can it fly? How fast can it go? How could it stay up? How much money is it cost? Where can I buy one? And then we got into this cycle of distrust. Oh, wait, that might be spying on me. It has a chance that it could look in my windows. And we fought through that. We were trying to normalize drone usage and make sure that people understood these things can be powerful help rather than powerful enemies. And I think we got to that point for quite a number of years. And then we have
Ukraine attached bombs to them. And here we are again.
And I just want to point out another thing that DJI, we get called a Chinese military company, and yet, leading U.S. drone manufacturers raced to Ukraine to put their drones into a militaristic weapon stance, and I abhor that with DJI drones. I'm firefighter paramedic for so many years that my life was about saving lives, and I wouldn't work at DJI if at all that was our mission. In fact, we did the opposite of what leading U.S. drone manufacturers did, and we stopped our sales to Ukraine and Russia. Now past the point of sale, we don't have control over our product, but we have done everything we can to prevent our products from ending up in a theater of war. Again, unlike leading U.S. drone manufacturers that not only want their drones in that theater of war, but pursue it here with the U.S. military.
And I think that was one of the key things that happened when DJI said, "Hey, well, we aren't selling our drones to either countries," right? We had politicians in the United States that were saying, "This is proof that they're, signing up with Russia," and it was comical in that, look, that's being locked down for both countries. What are you talking about? But they were spinning it the way that they wanted to say, this is another reason that we need to look at banning DJI.
Orville and Wilbur, the Wright brothers, they couldn't have possibly imagined what people would do with their little flying bicycle. They just wanted to fly.
Yeah.
And, any new technology is going to be weaponized. There's two things, and I'm going to have to bleep myself. Okay. There's two things that people do with new technology. They either fight with it or f*** it. Right? These robots that these lifelike robots, these are wonderful technology, but somebody's going to put a gun in a robot's hand or somebody's going to bend it over. That's just how we are as human beings.
Please don't do that with a drone.
No, that would hurt. Yes, if there's anything that's a takeaway from this discussion, it would be that. So this is getting a little long. There's been a lot of great information in here. Let me just go ahead and ask Ryan, what does the future hold? Do we have to be worried? Or is the hobby dying? What's going to happen in your crystal ball?
I don't think the hobby's dying at all. In fact, if we look at the last FMRA that came out, FAA Modernization and Reform Act, we have Congress that went to the FAA and said, look, we need you to put out a rule to allow flight beyond visual line of sight. So we're seeing Congress go, hey, we want drones in the sky. We want to be able to ease restrictions. And yet at the same time, yeah, they are looking at, hey, can we possibly ban some technologies? So it's a dual-edged sword, right? They know that we need to go forward with technology. They're supportive of that. And yet at the same time, I think they're misguided in saying we can't go forward with this technology because we think this is from a particular sect of government.
So you're saying cautious optimism.
I'm saying the glass is half full.
Okay. Wayne, over to you for a few final words that maybe you can reassure American consumers and give some rainbows and unicorns, if you would. Maybe.
Well, I can tell you definitely DJI is committing to do everything we can to stay in the market and support our customers that have been loyal and trusted our products, and the new customers that would like to look to our products, for just enjoyment or for a business. And we want to be there for them, and we will continue to be there for them. It just goes back to what Ryan was saying: get out there and engage your representatives, because we can say all day long our views, but when our users of our products get out there and explain this is how it's made a difference in their life, personally, hobby, or be able to a 19, 20-year-old go out and start their own agricultural business, or others scale up a business. That's the impact that the legislature needs to hear, that their voice. And I would say right now, I think we have both parties listening to people. I would hope right now, coming off of this recent election, because I think that was probably the biggest theme, is listening to the voters. So take that moment and get out there and make your voice heard.
And if you want your voice to be heard through our buddy Ryan LaTourette, he needs your help. I'm going to put a link to his funding, his legal fund, in the description. Ryan, you want to talk about that very briefly? Because I know you're independently wealthy. You are a multi-billionaire, and you don't have any problem with money. You just dole it out, and that's not true at all. You're actually using your own time and your own money to help us create precedent.
I
and
have
fight.
money like I have here, right?
Yeah.
No, I appreciate anybody who's willing to help out with our legal defense fund. It is an important opportunity to reach out and make sure that states and local governments are following the laws that are put in place to allow drone use. And we're making that fight every day in courts across the nation. Our latest is with the University of Michigan coming up in December, and we can use the funds because we have a big fight on our hands. And so I appreciate anybody helping with that. And really, it's about advocacy. The more that we can create in terms of advocacy, the better off we are.
And I would say, just to add to that, it's going to take time. I know that when the microwave oven was first invented, people were scared of it. It's just going to have to become as innocuous as anything else, drones. And when that happens, then all this hopefully will calm down. One more quick question for you, Wayne. I got to know, and I've been dreaming about it. I know there's other people that would buy it. Will there ever be a Phantom 5?
I thought we were at the Phantom 6 by now.
Oh, you got the 6? Send it on. Send it on, man. I guess I got my answer.
You know, the standard DJI answer is we're not allowed to talk about future products.
Oh, okay.
But I will say, as of right now, I can, without any doubt, say there is not anything I've seen that hints at a Phantom 5. I'm sorry.
Oh, doggone it. All right. Well, thank
But
you
you'll
both.
be the last to know as soon as I know.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Great answer.
Well, thank you both for being on and having this discussion. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.